Morning, Facebook friends. Helen Archontou here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. So happy to have some time with you today. It's Thursday, and as you know, in YWTV land, Thursday is when we share the mic now. And it's a wonderful opportunity for us to amplify the voices of Black women in our community. And I'm so grateful to have another great conversation to share with you today. And with that, I would like to welcome Britney Davis. And let me tell you a little bit about Britney. She is born and raised in Newark, New Jersey. And Britney is an entrepreneur and the voice behind a Queer in Your Ear podcast. She has received her Bachelor's of Arts from Williams-Patterson University, and she's currently pursuing her MBA online at Johnson & Wales University with a background in catering and events. She is very seasoned in customer service and has always been interested in giving back to her community. In an effort to do so, Britney created Queer Vibez, an online shop with Black and queer affirming apparel and accessories, in hopes of creating more access to queer apparel and to use the shop to address racism, classism, biphobia, transphobia, homophobia, xenophobia, and etc., and all other advocacy type issues. She occasionally enjoys traveling, adventures, music, family, and she's established herself, her creative self, with poetry, and she also performs at open mic events. When she's not working, she's taking a road trip with her fiance, making something in an air fryer. I love my air fryer. Journaling, or struggling to learn how to play the guitar. She hopes to continue the path of entrepreneurship and continuing sharing her story to prove hard work and relentless passion are all it takes to be successful. I love that, Britney. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I definitely appreciate you and YWCA, Helen and Samaza, just putting me on the radar. So this is definitely a great opportunity, and it's lovely to be here with you.
Well, I'm really grateful that you could make the time. I know that it's a busy time, even though, you know, it's a different time, but it still is a busy time. And I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. So let's start with, tell us about your podcast.
So Queer in Your Ear, I started, I would say June or August of 2020. And in the beginning, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to rant about social issues and, you know, current events and things that I've been experiencing, and somehow turn it into motivation and, of course, incorporate some of my poetry. So I will actually be releasing, after we're done, season 2 will start. So that's exciting. But the podcast is pretty much, I wanted to take my listeners through a journey, in a sense, 30, 45-minute segments where, like I said, I open up with a quote, definitely have some motivation in there. And I just wanted to cover, just like I said, just social issues, and kind of touch on oppression that I've faced just as a misgendered Black lesbian. Always being misgendered, and I wanted to kind of just shed light on social issues as best as I could through my way, instead of being very political or, you know, having somebody else's journey speak for mine. So I started the podcast, like I said, just in hopes of ranting and getting some listeners. So that's how it started. And I think it's going pretty good. Like I said, season 2 is about to release, so I'm very excited about that.
That's wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
On a successful first year. So tell us a little bit about some of the conversations you've had on your podcast the first year. What have been some of the ones that have really stuck out for you?
I would say one of my favorites, talking about motivation, what motivates you and how to kind of get yourself out of a funk. Because I know I've been there. Sometimes you just don't feel motivated. You just don't want to do something. You don't want to be bothered, and you're not feeling very successful, or not productive in any way. So that's one of the episodes. I talk about love. Like I said, social issues. I talk about things that trigger you, how to navigate through your triggers, how to identify them. Mm-hmm. Talk about identity, who you are, what makes you. I kind of break it down between identity versus image. And that's a good episode definitely go back and listen to that. And I talk about, it was one of my newer episodes, talking about from pride to profit, how during Pride Month, corporations, are there. They'll stick the rainbow flag or this flag and that flag on their paraphernalia. But then after June hits, it's like, they're nowhere to be found. It's for profit and only during that month. So couple of, I think I have 12 or 13 episodes, but those are just the ones that kind of just stick with me. Power, I think they're talking about the power in just being yourself and being authentic and, just being genuine, because why try to be someone else? So like I said, I try to motivate. I incorporate some of my poetry. I recommend podcasts, other podcasts at the end of the show. It's a nice little segment. Like I said, it's just a journey. It's a lot of cursing on there, so disclaimer. But it also ties into my rants. But it's definitely been a journey, and I'm just excited to see where season 2 goes.
Well, I appreciate that you're tackling such important conversations and issues, in the space that you cultivated and created. And just for our viewers today, we have the links to Britney's podcast here for you so that you can connect to it. And I do encourage you to add it to your listening library, whatever you're spending your time on. So tell me if you like some of the topics that you talked about. So like image versus identity. What's kind of a quick snapshot for our listeners who may not be familiar with some of the topics that you're talking about, and we want to get them, there to hear about them?
Well, if we're talking about image versus identity, I think people get caught up on the way that people see them versus and portray them versus how they actually are or how they actually identify. Excuse me. Like I said, when it comes to me being misgendered, when I walk in the room, I stand tall at 5'11". So people see my Blackness, and I tend to dress more masculine and I identify as masculine of center. So when they see me, it is more aggressive than the feminine woman that I can be or, whenever I want to be. But it's honestly just trying to decipher which identities you want to go with rather than allowing people's opinions and their perception of you to take over how you perceive yourself, if that makes sense.
That absolutely makes sense. And I appreciate you sharing that again, because we've created this space for Share the Mic Now and YWTV to try to educate our viewers, on various issues. So I appreciate you spending a little time to speak about that. So, how did you figure out how to launch a podcast, by the way? I mean, that's, I know that you got the entrepreneur background, and so you're clearly someone who likes to, take something and create something. But, how did you figure out that space? Because, that's a whole thing.
It honestly is. I have been doing research, because like you said, like you were telling people to plug it into their favorite listening stream. I listen to podcasts all the time, driving in the car, I'll have it playing background, just something to have, because I don't like dead space and dead, just dead noise. But I had been doing research on just how to start it. And I was looking at a couple of different apps, and I'm like, well, I don't want to pay for anything if it's not going to be worth it, or, I don't know where it's going to lead me. So why, spend money? So I started Googling free podcasts and apps to kind of guide you through. And that's how I stumbled across Anchor, which is what I use. And it's an app, and you do everything in it. You can record in there, you make edits, they give you background music selections. You can break it up into segments, and it's very user friendly, but also you kind of got to be tech savvy. So initially I was recording it on my iPad, and you can tell how it grew. Because some of the episodes you can hear the audio, and it's just like, man, this sounds terrible. But I ended up buying a mic. And, then I started using the mic with my laptop. So just developing, of course, over time. Like I said, I just started doing my research, and I'm like, everybody, like the podcast world is taking off now. And I had initially had the thought prior to the pandemic, and just when the pandemic happened, I'm like, I have so much time on my hands, like all the things that I wanted to tap into now would be a great time. So like I said, I started doing that research, and I just knew that people also had time on their hands. So, hey, let's just record an episode or an intro and see where it goes. And I think I posted it like on all my social media outlets and sent it to my family. And I had like 60 something listens. I was like, oh, I'm doing good. But it honestly started from there. And I just kind of ran with it, to be honest.
Well, that's amazing. And I appreciate you sharing that, because there are a lot of folks that probably have that interest in doing something like this, but never actually take that next step out of fear or out of not knowing. And, you sharing your experience is, very, very helpful. But it really speaks a lot to you, and how you, jumped right in and figured it out and evolved it. And now you're getting ready for season 2.
Yes.
So definitely, folks, make sure that you are following and listening, because there's, Britney clearly has a lot more to say, and we're looking forward to hearing it. So you said when you started that the podcast originated out of life experiences and wanting a place to rant. And tell us a little bit about, some of your life experiences that brought you to that moment.
Well, I mean, I was born and raised in Newark. And once I started high school, my family, we moved to Woodbridge. So it was, in a sense, culture shock, because Newark is predominantly people of color. Woodbridge, very diverse. And I'm like, what is this? So I kind of wanted to just touch on that, and just start, like, because I mean, not saying I wasn't very hopeful, just being from Newark, but you see your community and you see just things around you and just experiences like in your family, and things that you just go through or see daily. And you always just know that you want better and that there is better out there, because there's a whole world to explore and experience. So, when I thought about how I wanted to incorporate my life, I didn't necessarily have boundaries in mind when it came to the podcast, because I say it, I'm raw and this is me, take it or leave it. So I just thought how I can share my most genuine and authentic self for people to get to know me, but there also be boundaries and my private life, not necessarily everything be out there. But I've experienced so much just growing up. My grandmother had 9 children, so the family is huge. Then my mom, it's my brother and I, and my little sister, so the 3 of us. But I've come from a large family. Everybody's got different views. I grew up in the church, grew up playing drums in the church. So, just to have that and then go off to college, and it's a free world. Like I started college at the age of 6. I was just turning 17 when I started. So it was just like, I'm so young, but I don't have anybody over my shoulder. I can kind of do what I want, but I'm scared to really explore the world. So, just trying to incorporate all of that. And like I said, just share the journey, because everything that you go through, there's always somebody going through something very similar, if not the same thing, but how you cope with it and how you manage, that's what makes the experiences different. So I wanted to, like I said, just share that. And I literally look at my podcast just as a journey, starting with the crappy audio issues, improving, and, just getting better over time. And, me just sharing my life, where I, came from, and having my BA. Okay, I've talked about that. And now with me about to graduate with my MBA, I'm shedding light on that. Getting married next year, I'm starting to talk about that. So, just life experiences. And hey, audience, this is me.
Yeah, I love what you just said about how, we all kind of go through similar, if not the same experiences, but it's our coping strategies that, really make them unique. And and I really just want to share my appreciation that you share your story, because that really does build a bridge for people that are needing to hear someone else's experience in a space, and help them through. And for those of you watching, also, I do encourage you, as I said, we have Britney's podcast here, and you can be following her on her various social media channels as well. I know I follow you on Instagram, but I know that there's some other places as well that we can connect with you, and it's a great opportunity to stay connected to Britney. So I know that you have now entered the world of, two things I still want to talk about and make sure before we wrap up. But one, you've entered into your MBA program at Johnson and Wales, and you really love that kind of customer service aspect of the work that you're focused on there. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you got inspired to embrace, that next chapter?
Sure. Well, first off, everybody needs to know it's never too late to get started. I graduated from William Patterson in 2011, and I didn't decide that I wanted to go to grad school until about 2015, 2016. But I was working full time at the time, and I was like, there's no way I can juggle that. But that was just my mind just being scared of the unknown, because here I am now working full time and, I'm almost done with school. But I've always, as corny as it sounds, I've always had a thing with trying to please people, trying to make sure people were happy. And it honestly fostered, starting with my family, because having such a big family, it's like, my grandmother, everybody would come to the house on Sundays after church and let's have dinner. And okay, can you go heat this up? Can you do this? Can you do that? And, just taking care of certain family members as they got sick and, as they grew older. So that I would honestly say the customer service aspect definitely started with my family. And when it came to deciding what I wanted to pursue my MBA in, catering and events, I had a thing for that because some of my jobs I worked like as an event rental specialist. So you would see like red carpet events and stuff like that, or like any type of new broadcast show or whatever the case may be, just high-end events and stuff. And I was like, this is pretty dope to be on the back end. Not only do you see, you're speaking with the customer, providing what they want, and then to see it kind of come to life at the end. I'm like, okay, so just the ideas just, coming together, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I could make money out of this. I enjoy it, so that's honestly how it started. And hospitality management, I mean, I am a little fearful just because of the pandemic now. But of course, I have hope that the industry will bounce back. It's just going to be a matter of time, of course. But I just knew that I wanted to be in a program, or at least have a degree where I was able to apply what I genuinely enjoyed, so that I didn't look at it as stressful, because planning events and just dealing with customers all the time is stressful. You're just like, I'm over this. But if I know that if I'm genuine about it and I go in with my head in the right space, it's fine. And that's how I've been doing it. And like I said, I started winter of 2017. I've just taken 1 or 2 classes here and there, and I'll be done in May.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. I can't wait.
Well, you sure have a lot of, a lot of exciting milestones ahead. You also talked about your upcoming marriage as well.
Yes.
That's a big, another big step too. Congratulations. That's very exciting.
Thank you.
That's very exciting. And I know that another baby of yours, in all of your entrepreneurial spirit, is your Queer Vibez online shop.
Yes.
So I'd love to talk a little bit about how that came to be, and what that looks like and how people can connect to it.
Sure. So again, just another, like you said, baby that fostered in the pandemic. It's, hey, we have time on our hands. Let's make these creative thoughts. Let's put them into action. So I started Queer Vibez literally with like 2 t-shirt designs. I think I asked my fiance, like, hey, which one do you like? All right, let's see if other people like it. But I started the shop with just having myself in mind, honestly, because like I said in the beginning, me just being more masculine, presenting, I was tired of struggling with apparel that just wasn't appealing to me, whether it was the verbiage, the way that it fit, the way that it looked on me, whatever the case may be. And I mean, I have t-shirts and sweatshirts and hoodies, but more masculine people tend to gravitate to that. So I honestly just wanted to create a shop where Black and queer people would have clothing options that were affordable and literally handmade. Of course, I have, someone that designs the t-shirts, but most of them I come up with the design, whether it's a political phrase, whether like I have a lot of stuff on the website, because some of it, it's offensive to some. But I wanted to, like I said, just create a shop where I felt in case I didn't need to say anything, whatever was on my shirt, whatever was on my sweatshirt, my wrist right now, it says Black Lives Matter, and this is on my shop. Whatever it was, you didn't have to question where I stand because my clothing and my apparel would do it for me. And that kind of was my mindset, and I just ran with it.
Well, I love that. I love that you've created a brand that's about the statement of everything, that you believe in. And our viewers are kind of reinforcing what a go-getter you are, and how you are always, creating and evolving. And that's amazing. And so tell us that as well, because we have a lot of female entrepreneurs that watch our show and look for inspiration. I mean, that's a whole nother like the podcast again. An area that sometimes some of us may think, oh, that would look cute on a t-shirt, or that would be a cool thing to have on a bracelet, but kind of getting to that place about doing it. How did you kind of get from thought A to action B?
Kind of just kicking myself out the comfort zone. Yeah. That's where it starts. You have an idea, you have a design, own it in some way and see what you can do with it. I started, honestly, my first thing was, okay, how can I claim this? So first step for me was getting an LLC. From there, I'm like, okay, now I want to put it online, because before I started the online shop, I was doing pop-up shops, which were very popular and still are, but now everybody's hip to them. So it's just another thing right now. But I was, Saturdays and Sundays, I would get a vendor table and just have my stuff out there, letting people just come and, purchase stuff, ask questions, whatever the case may be, get business cards, purchase a domain. And I did that. My domain is through GoDaddy. So it is definitely doing, some research. And, I also try to look at other, queer apparel, clothing lines, and, trying to see how they design their website, and not necessarily to copy off of, but just to get ideas, to know, because, obviously their business is growing. So kind of just deciding what will work best for me, but with a plan that's already out there, if that makes sense. So just tweaking it to where it can accommodate me without having me to start from scratch, because you always want to work smarter and not harder.
Yeah, I love that. Well, there's a lot of inspiration right there in what you're sharing for any of our entrepreneurs watching. And I love working smarter. That's always one of my goals as well. But wonderful to see for you how that has evolved into creating these platforms that you can, as you said, be wearing your truth, and sharing your truth in all these important ways. So we are in the middle of a pandemic. And it's been definitely a different time, for sure. How, as a businesswoman, how, as a student, how have you managed that at this time and navigated it?
Am I managing it though?
Well, better question. Are you managing it? Let me take my supposition out of it.
No, I'm managing. It's honestly just not taking too much on. I've just again going back to the events and catering aspect, I had to learn time management and hard deadlines and just being on top of things. So I like sticky notes. I got sticky notes everywhere on my desk, so that kind of keeps me on track. It's bright. Hey, what is that ugly thing on my table? Let me take care of that. But journaling helps me get through those. That's my, outlet for getting my thoughts and feelings out. And I mean, when it comes to school, I like the fact that it is online, because I do have the flexibility of, making my own schedule. Okay, I know this paper or whatever, this assignment is due Sunday. Let me not wait until Saturday at 10:59 p.m. to get started. So it's honestly just time management and not putting, now with the pandemic, I have less of a social life. So I would have blamed my social life on, the reasons that I'm procrastinating. But it's honestly less opportunity for me to procrastinate. So I feel like the pandemic in a way shifted my mindset for me to focus, wherein I was able to start, the podcast, able to start the shop, and now I'm able to complete my degree, my program. So I would definitely say time management, and just knowing when you've had enough, not just piling more stuff on top of your plate, because at the end of the day, it just leaves you stressful and the task uncompleted, undone.
Well, that's such great advice. Time management, folks. You heard it from Britney. And knowing when to say no. I know that's
Yes.
hard for a lot of us to do.
That's funny you said that. That's actually going to be my not the first episode for season 2, but the second episode. It's manifesting the word no without an explanation.
Yes. Yeah, I've been working on that one for years, but but it's definitely important, and that's great that you'll be doing a show on it. Everyone, we definitely tune in for that one. So our mission at the YWCA is about eliminating racism and empowering women. And this space for Share the Mic Now, specifically, we put in effect, obviously, after George Floyd was killed, and to really be able to create a space to amplify the voices of Black women in particular in our community. When you think about eliminating racism, which I know is a lofty mission, for an organization to take on, what are some of the concrete things that come to mind for you as ways that we can move to a place and a space where racism doesn't exist? What does some of that journey look like in your mind?
I would have to break it down honestly into maybe 3 or 4 categories, starting with individualism, and that could be something as simple as having conversations with people, and not being, of course, being mindful of their feelings, but not mindful in the sense that you're holding back the truth, calling them out on their racism, just education. Start by, supporting a Black business. Hello. So just something as simple as thinking before you speak, because some people are just, quick. It's a comeback, and but is that offensive? Did you have to say that? Could you have said it a different way to get your point across? And I just think when it comes to individuals, it just needs to be eradicated through learning and reflection. I also think, like institutional wise, when it comes to like agencies and jobs, having people of color in leadership roles, not, just in a general customer service role or whatever the case may be, diversity among staff, having anti-racism trainings in the onboarding processes, because essentially it manifests itself through microaggression. So let's, eliminate that. And when you mentioned it, you mentioned George Floyd. I think about that because when it comes to justice, it's not really just. And I think of, just the government and just world leaders who are blatant with their racism. And I always feel like it starts from the top. If you are letting certain people get away with certain things, okay, it gives other people the okay. And, they kind of take that and run with it. And I just feel like now these times racism is more blatant now than it has ever been, at least in my eyes, at my age. And I know that it's up to white people to get the ball rolling and not wait for people of color to do the legwork, because it's been time for action, So yeah, start, if you want, just as an individual, start by supporting a business, read anti-racism material. If you are head of a company or you hold a role, get some people of color in there, have that training, and diverse training and stuff for your entire staff, and always just educate yourself in everything that you do and that you say.
Well, thank you, Brittany. You gave us a lot to think about. And, the YW obviously has tried to and continues to work toward, many of the action items that you've talked about. And clearly you've struck a chord even with our viewers. They're responding yes, to what you're sharing. But I also really respect too that, you yourself are living in this space, that you're sharing in terms of taking, your time to educate and to share your views through your podcast. And, folks, we have a great Black business right here to support And we've got the link here for a Queer Vibez shop to be able to do that. And I look forward to continuing to watch you evolve and see where you go next. And, that would be my last question, because you really are an inspiration. I mean, you take this thought and you've made it into a reality. Just in the course of this conversation, you've shared at least, 2 or 3 areas of your life that you've, had this inkling, and then, created a life milestone, with it. And, that's really impressive and hard, sometimes to get one of those off the ground, let alone, what we've talked about already. So what's next for Britney Davis? What's, I mean, obviously marriage is coming too.
Yes.
Definitely be a next chapter, but what's next for you?
I honestly, that's one thing that I haven't really thought about. My main focus right now is getting through these next 3 months with school, to have the MBA, to, secure it. And I mean, I don't know. I want my business to boom, but I also want to be more hands-on when it does come to the community. And so I'm still working on deciding how I can kind of navigate that while also, still doing everything that I have and just keeping my my businesses and everything booming. But as far as, just next steps, like you said, it's marriage. And I mean, that's a whole ball game. So that, that is happening next year. Hopefully trying to just get involved. Honestly, I want to do some type of mentorship program. But it's only a thought right now. So probably in a year or 2, you check up on me, Helen. I'm like, hey, I started it, or, I have this office or this community center or whatever the case may be. But I always thought about that because, like I said, I've used journaling in my poetry to kind of release my feelings and my thoughts. But I know that there are a lot of young girls of color, particularly young Black girls, who are now starting to see that they have opportunities to do so much. The world is limitless. So I think a mentorship program of some sort, that'll be in the works for the next couple of years.
Well, know the YW is fully supportive of what you're describing, and maybe it's something we can partner on together.
For sure. We could talk about it.
We'll keep talking. And you guys keep listening. Season 2 is coming out of the podcast. As we said, the link is here. Check out Queer Vibez shop, and again, definitely support Black businesses. And again, here's a great one to support. And here's some other things you can do that are totally linked to some of what Britney shared as some action items. One is for young women ages 15 to 20, have them sign up for tomorrow evening's Jen on the Go event at the YW. It's being offered by the Color Complex, and it's focusing on colorism and looking at people's beliefs around skin color, hair textures, and facial features, and how they influence our lives. And it's for everyone. And as Britney said, those of us who are white, this is as much our space to help eliminate racism. And a great way to do that with our young people is to educate them on these issues and open their mind to experiences that they haven't personally lived, but to gain an understanding. So please register your 15 to 20-year-old girls to be part of that. Also, the 21-day Racial Equity and Social Justice Challenge. As you know, the YWCA has been sharing that since August. We have over 1,000 people who have done it already, and we encourage more to do it. And it's a great time of year to, it's always a great time of year, but it's a great time of year to start conversations through doing the challenge with some companions, get a group of friends together, bring it to your business, bring it to your house of worship. We have just in this last week, we've done 3 conversations with different 2 nonprofits and a group of community leaders that have been doing the 21-day challenge. And it's just a great opportunity for people to explore the issues around race, power, and privilege. And we do encourage everyone to do that. We'll have the link here for you. And Monday, I hope is the beginning of you joining us. March is Women's History Month. And I have to say, we're a big proponent at the YWCA that every month is Black History Month. Every month is Women's History Month. Every month is Pride Month. We do not, we definitely do some shining of the light on the months that are, identified, but it's all year round. But for us, every March we do our Women's Leadership Conference. And although it's going to look a little different this year, we've broken it up into 4 conversations each week that we'll be having with some amazing women in our community. And I encourage you on Monday, March 1st at 10 a.m. to register. The link is here for you to do so for an amazing conversation that we'll be having with Dr. Chris Purnell. And if you don't know who Dr. Purnell is, you definitely want to. She is an absolute inspiration. And she, like the other women that are part of our conversation this March, along with Janine LaRue, Valpreet Burke, and Rachel Antonoff. So we've got these 4 amazing women who are all living their truth in their daily lives. They're going to be a tremendous inspiration, just like Britney was to us just now. So we hope that you join us. You can register to be part of our Women's Leadership Conference. As I said, we've put it into little easily to manage bites in the life of working from home, because I personally couldn't manage a whole day of a conference. That would make me go Looney Tunes with everything else going on in my house. Brittany's shaking her head too, because I can see she's feeling it also. But we put it into bite-sized 1-hour conversations, 1 a week for 4 weeks for you. And please schedule them in your calendar. Take some me time. You heard it from Britney too. It's really all about, making sure you carve that time, for yourself and your dreams. And this is a great place to create some inspiration in your life, listening to these women. And so with that, we gave you a lot of great information today. And thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I'm really grateful and learned so much and inspired from being with you. And clearly you inspired our viewers as well. And for our viewers, if there's someone in your life that you wish had seen this conversation, do not despair. It is not too late. You can take the link and you can send it to them in Messenger. You can put it onto your Facebook page and you can do a little watch party. You can send it and stick it in a text to someone. It's a great opportunity. We not only share the mic with you, but we hope you, and you heard Britney say it too, will share the mic with others. And it's a great way to do that, is to amplify this conversation and share it with others. So we hope you do that. Britney, continued success. Looking forward to season 2. You're, watching your shop evolve, seeing what you do with your, degree and where that takes you, and all your other dreams and aspirations. Congratulations on your impending nuptials, and all the exciting things ahead. You are a superstar for sure.
Definitely appreciate it. And thank you again, Helen, for having me, and just YWCA for the opportunity.
Well, everyone, have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow. We have another great conversation, so we'll see you tomorrow for that.